The foreplay is over. Okay. So, what I want you to do now is use your imagination. Now, I know nobody in that got any imagination at all. I mean, any spiritual vibrations or anything like that. You're incredibly materialistic and dull. But I want you to change all that, and I want you to imagine that you're in England. So it's raining and it's dull and it's grey and it's the 6th century, okay? And we're just about to go into battle, okay? Now, the Arthurian story is all about blood, sex, and all those other things that make up life, okay? So it's a bit like a soap opera. And what I want you to imagine is that we are going into battle, and some of us aren't going to make it, but most of us are, because we've got Arthur with us. Now what we've got to do to get in the mood is we've got to give a shout, okay? Now what we're going to shout, very simple, we're going to shout Arthur. But I want to practice this, okay? So you're going to shout it 3 times. Are you ready? Arthur! Come on. Arthur! Okay, one more. Arthur! All right. This is the one. Okay, ready? Arthur! That's the boy. Okay, now we're in it. Now we're in the groove. Okay, so King Arthur, Excalibur, Camelot, the Knights of the Round Table, Merlin, the Holy Grail, Avalon. Would there be any part of the world where these things and that story that connects them are unknown? The story of King Arthur has many parts, and the starting point must be the actual historical figure known as Arthur. Having said that, let's keep the myth of Arthur with us at the same time. So we shall see the reality becomes legend, then the myth and the truth. Or does it? My good friend, the writer Alan Richardson, says, "We must therefore try not to think of Arthur as just some dirty but tough old Romano-British warrior who lived in the 6th century, but a veritable sun god of native traditions. As always, somewhere in the middle lies the truth. The years before 430 AD were regarded as a golden age in Britain before things went badly wrong. We were a Romano-British culture, with the Romano bit rapidly disappearing as the Roman garrisons fled back to Rome to defend their city against the Goths and Visigoths. Britain was then invaded by the Anglo-Saxons, and by the middle of the 9th century, they'd more or less entirely taken over this country. So Arthur's story is the story of the king who, as long as he was standing, resisted the invader, and in this case, conquered him. And his reputation amongst his men, the people, and even his enemies ensured he would become a military legend. And with that legend became attached to him very powerful symbols of magic. Arthur is a figure from another world, as Alan says, a warrior, but also a god. Now his Roman name was Artorius or Arthur. Now our first puzzle, it is according to Geoffrey Ash, who's an Arthurian expert, he may not even be a king, but merely an aristocrat. And here's the first split in the tale, and there are several, because he either pulled the sword from the stone, and we've all seen the cartoon, or he was given the sword by the Lady of the Lake. But if he pulled the sword from the stone, rather than the stone from the sword, at his coronation was another king, Old King Cole. So you might know that one. Old King Cole's a merry old soul, and souls. He called for his pipe, he called for his bowl, he called for his fiddlers 3. So, interesting that he should have actually called for his pipe in the 6th century, when tobacco didn't come to England until the 16th century. But there we are. These are the anomalies of the legends. But Arthur was certainly the supreme commander of the British, taking over from the Roman general Ambrosius. Arthur's title is Dux Bellorum, and he has more exotic titles, such as Emperor and Ruler in the Toil of Battle. He also appears, when relaxing, to have been very hospitable. If you popped into his camp any time, this lot would be on the menu, and I quote, hot peppered chops, and wine brimming over, and delectable songs, and a woman to sleep with thee. Yes, I'll order everything. Get double, bring it all to my room. Back to battle. And in his first engagement with the Saxons at Baden Hill, or Mount Baden, near a place called Bath in the west of England, Arthur defeated a Saxon army. And if it's to be believed, doing most of the killing himself. So what was he like, Arthur? He's described as a hard bargaining warrior chief, out for what he could get. No friend of the church, or probably any authority. So he's a mixture between Marlon Brando and Brad Pitt, perhaps. So we have this wild, rebellious, independent spirit, but most definitely the right man in the right place at the right time. An exceptional leader who inspires his men, leads by example, and never appears to be in doubt or afraid, a true hero. Because we live on an island, we're rather keen on those who defend us. And throughout history, we've had, besides Arthur, King Alfred, who defeated the Danes, Francis Drake, who defeated the Spanish, and Winston Churchill. And I'll refrain from doing an impersonation of Winston Churchill, but I love to. He defeated Germany. And there was an away match with the French at Agincourt. All these chaps... Right. All these chaps are rather stylish in their own way, and also desperate and determined men. When everybody is saying, "Oh, you want to give up?" he replies with a resounding and rather typically English, "Y'all do sucks to that, old chap. I never give up." Now, I've been talking about exclusively English Arthur. There is, of course, the Welsh tradition, which comes in the Middle Ages when Arthur has become the myth, and thus he's up for grabs by everybody who wants a hero of their own. Much is made of the Welsh Arthur being constantly at his camp at Caerleon, which means the lion's place. Many places in Britain claim Arthurian associations. There's 104 references to places associated with Arthur, from the northeast of Scotland to the very tip of Cornwall. As well as the Welsh claim to him, there's also a northern school from the Scottish, where he's known as the Hunter, or Ardu the Dark One. Unfortunately, this sort of thing has led to endless squabbles amongst scholars and academics. And when academics start squabbling, they get even more pissy than Arthur's men. So by looking at Camelot, we might establish the claim as a West Country Arthur. Now, this is the whole thing that I'm obviously of the school that he is from the West Country. Okay, the idea that it's Glastonbury that is the centre of the Arthurian myth, and it's, oh, that's good, Camelot is the place which is called South Cadbury, which is obviously just south of Glastonbury. Okay. A word about that. It was excavated in the 1960s, and parts of the site were known as King Arthur's Palace, King Arthur's Well, and there's a general notion that the hill is hollow. It's said there's an iron gate, or even a golden one, and if you come at the right moment, it stands open, and you can see King Arthur and his knights asleep inside and ready to rise and defend the kingdom once more against the invader. And the interesting thing is there's what's called Arthur's hunting path, which leads from Camelot to Glastonbury Tor. And on the night of the summer solstice, you can hear the silver spurs jingling in the moonlight as he takes all his men from Camelot to the Tor. And so if you're going to Glastonbury, go up to the Tor.